It made me cry.
This one's wife. There's no product really, is there? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You will no doubt be familiar with what a Ponzi scheme is. This was named after the notorious fraudster Charles Ponzi, whereby you're induced to make an investment, and the investment can be anything. It might be stocks and shares, it might be properties in Bulgaria that are yet to be built, it might be a diamond mine in some African country, and the idea is that you put your money in and you're promised returns which are way above what you'd ordinarily get if you invested in some unit trust or put your money in the bank, so that you can get a higher return. It's explained that there's an element of risk, and then what happens? You put your money in, and a short time later, you receive a payment out. Well, that's rather good. Excellent. You've made money, and you might be induced to put more money into the scheme. But what you didn't realise was the fact that the scheme can only exist so long as it's getting new victims. Because you haven't been paid out by any returns on the investment, you've simply been paid from money that has come from investors that have invested later than you. And then if they get a payout, it simply comes from money that is invested by people that have come to the scheme later. And eventually the scheme collapses when people start to try and extract their money and there is insufficient funds because the money has been spent by the fraudsters and insufficient receipts have come from new investors. In effect, there was never any product. There was never anything you were actually investing in. There was no vehicle which was making money for you from which you were being paid out. You were simply being paid from more money that was coming in from other investors such as yourself. Ultimately, there was no product. And one is starting to wonder if something similar is going on in relation to this one's wife with as ever, in respect of there's no product. Nobody's being asked to invest in this. The general public aren't being asked to pay money into it and being promised returns. Instead, you're told that you can make a purchase of one of several items that you'll receive. But so far, nobody has actually got any of these items. We've heard about certain people on social media who sought to make the purchases but found that they couldn't, that they were told that it wasn't available, that it was coming soon, and then it was sold out, that they put items in their basket which were then mysteriously removed, so they weren't able to make any kind of purchase. That very shortly after the items were available, everything was declared to have been sold out, which either points to, one, massive demand, and there were a lot of products available but they still sold out, which seems unlikely given the fact that we haven't seen any of these products in the wild. The only places the products have been seen is with people who've been sent them in gift boxes by this one's wife. Therefore, to my mind, it seems highly unlikely that there was massive demand was actually in part met by a significant supply of products, because we haven't seen any of them. The alternative for this was that there were just a few products available and significant demand, and therefore they sold out very quickly because there wasn't much to buy. This is a possibility, but again, it seems strange that even if some people were able to make purchases, we haven't seen them out in the wild. For instance, where are all the sugar accounts showing their purchases? Instead, what we've seen, as I've mentioned in a separate video, somebody explaining that they got an email future faking them in relation to their failed purchase of the honey. The third possibility is there was never any product to sell, that you attempted to purchase things which weren't there, then everything was described as sold out. So it generated an idea that there was a buzz, that there was an idea of demand, that people then made it seem like there was lots and lots of people interested in it because it sold out. And that was what this one's wife was after, because it provided her with a large amount of fuel in that moment and an opportunity to crow about it being sold out. it would appear that nobody's actually been able to buy anything, which suggests that there were no products available in the first place. And that where somebody has placed an order, for instance, for the limited edition honey, they've been met with a failure to fulfill and a promise, which may yet also go unfulfilled, of something coming to them at a later date. The only individuals to have received actual products have come from the grift boxes. The likes of Elizabeth Holmes, no, not that one, a different one. Mindy Kaling, Akila Relaford, who I understand is an influencer, who then went and actually sent her own gift basket or gift box back to this one's wife, and hers looked better. That there were other individuals who have crowed on Instagram about the receipt of them with the usual probably planted wording about being so proud of this one's wife. As we've seen last week, certain recipients of the grift boxes claim to have made the crepe mix and have claimed to make the cookie mix. We haven't seen anybody making a brew that has been brewed in the sunshine as per the top tips provided by this one's wife. We haven't seen any reports of actual use of any of the teas. We saw the child of one of the recipients trying to place the spread on some jam, on some bread or some toast prior to going to bed. But beyond that, none, not one sighting has existed in relation to these products. Even with the Daily Mail, I query whether they were actually able to order it. But rather, it seems to me, and their wording was rather interesting. As I said, they managed to lay their hands on. They never wrote that they bought or purchased it. A jar of the spread, and it seems to me that they've either asked somebody who they know has received it, can we have it? Or that they've actually been sent it by someone who isn't that keen on this one's wife, but had received a grift box nevertheless. You recall last year that we knew that apparently 50 jars of jam were sent out, but I think only about 13 were actually identified. The other 37 arrived in dumpsters as a consequence of people who simply said, I don't want to be doing your dirty work, or admitting that I'm associated with this crap product. And it may well be the case that there are other people that have received the grift boxes. This time, this one's wife didn't number them, so we don't know how many have been sent out. And we've seen possibly around about 10 so far admit that they've received them, and they've gone to social media to parade the fact that they have. But with those products, they have been specifically created for the purpose of a promotion. They've not been made available for actual sale. They've been there to be sent to celebrities and influencers with the sole purpose of getting them to advertise what's available, presumably with squeals of delight and suitable hyperbole in their descriptions. To my mind, all of this points to the fact there is no actual product, that you can't buy anything, that even though the site went live, you weren't able to purchase anything. Nobody's been able to do so. We've not seen masses of videos from Sugars saying, oh, look, I've got my hands on some honey or some spread or some tea. It's absolutely delicious. Well done. So proud of you, this one's wife. They don't exist. Even some of the cynics who you have to ask, why are you purchasing her product, haven't been able to do so. Again, you would expect that some, for the purposes of getting views, would have sought to make a purchase. I know, for instance, of one YouTuber who tried to do so, but she repeatedly stated that she failed in that regard. And thus, nobody ordinary or normal, i.e. outside of those that has been identified as someone that this one's wife would send a grift box to, has actually been able to purchase any of these products, which then causes one to wonder. Is there actually anything there? Is there any real substance to this business? Can you actually buy anything? Here we are, days after the launch, everything shows us sold out. It states on the website for you to sign up. All items are currently sold out. Be the first to know about restocks and future collections. Sign up, i.e. give us your data. And therefore, from what we've seen so far, it really does give the impression of having created an illusion. There are promotional products, samples if you will, but beyond that, no mass production of anything that could be sold. And therefore it really does support the proposition that there's no product really, is there? Which then leads to the next question, what's the purpose of that then? Which I'm going to address in my next video. But in the comments, do you agree with me? Do you believe that there was never anything that could be purchased? That there is nothing that can be purchased? That the only products that exist are the ones that have ended up going in the grift boxes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.